Hello, Vanessa.
Hello.
Thank you for being here with us in this online event in which we will talk about abortion rights, women reproductive rights, and health crisis in neoliberalism. Okay, so Vanessa, first of all, can you briefly describe the political, historical, social, and religious background of legal frameworks, reactionary reforms on women's reproductive rights in Italy?
Yes, so thank you very much for having me here in this event. And to say, to start, so as everybody knows, Italy is a Catholic country. We have an abortion law since the 70s. The abortion law, I think, was voted in 1974. And after a long, after a very long fight of feminist movement in the 70s, and the problem of this abortion law was that since the beginning we have a possibility for doctors to decide, even if they are a doctor working on women's health, they can decide if they want to practice an abortion or not. And by now we have regions in Italy who have the 90% of doctors in public hospitals who decided to not practicing abortion. That means that in many places of Italy at the moment is very, very difficult to have an abortion.
Even though abortion is legal?
Yes, of course, abortion is legal since the 70s, absolutely. Abortion, it has always been legal since the law has passed, and there is no intention to touch openly the law. Rather, even during the Salvini when Salvini was Minister of Interior, that was the moment where there has been the moment where we had a lot of
demonstrations, or
no, we had a lot of attack from the government towards women and women reproductive rights. But even in that period, that was openly when the government was openly going against women's rights, the idea to return back from legal abortion were never openly discussed. But what is true is that abortion, reproductive rights in Italy are in practice in danger, because hospital by hospital we have the impossibility, like doctors are not practicing abortion because they openly say that is against their moral beliefs. And that means that, yes, we do have a law, but inside the law that was voted in the 70s, we have the trick to make the law not to make this right not real. So especially in the last years, with the explosion of the feminist movement, non una di meno, not one less, there have been public campaigns against the possibility of doctors to practice what in Italian we call obiezione di coscienza. So like the possibility for a moral or religious belief to not practice abortion. This has always been one of the objectives of the campaign historically and also lately of a feminist movement in Italy. Second thing, another campaign and battle of feminist movement lately to claim back reproductive rights has been on the pills of the day after. So this is legal, of course, in Italy, but also here is restricted. If we compare to France or Spain, where you can simply go to a pharmacy and ask for the pills, this is not possible in Italy. You need to have a prescription of a doctor, and this makes the eater of having the pills very long sometimes, and sometimes pharmacy will not sell you the pills, saying that they don't have it, and for moral rights, for moral behavior, but this is not possible. This is not legal. So one of the very successful campaign that have been done is organized around a platform and a group that is called Obiezione Respinta. So we reject your objection. And it's an online platform where you can send and map online all the pharmacy and doctors and hospitals where you have been, where a doctor has told you we're not practicing abortion, or we're not selling the pills, a pharmacy that has told you that we're not selling the pills. So after receiving these online these online comments, sometimes it has happened that feminist groups and non una di meno assemblies have also organized small action in front of pharmacies that have decided to not selling the pills, because it's completely against the law. They cannot do it. Yeah. So we use the law. So since they are forcing the law, we are saying no. We are right. This is our right. You have to sell it to us. But as you know, many times for young teenagers or young women, it's difficult to be in this situation when you are alone in front of a doctor, maybe a male doctor that in a pharmacy is telling you, no, we're not selling this pill. And maybe then it's too late. You are that can happen after 3 days. So this has been so at the moment we have the right. We are lately. Is it possible to receive the pills directly from the pharmacy as well? So the fact that you need an authorization from your doctor has been removed. So that was a successful campaign as well. But still, we have a lot of pharmacies where you go and they will not sell it to you. But
while being against the law.
Yes, totally, exactly.
And I think that the day after pill isn't free.
No.
Is it expensive?
Yeah, it is. It is kind of expensive, and it's not. They will not refund it later. So you have to pay it for yourself. So
women from lower classes, from the lower class, aren't able to pay for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about 20-30 euros, kind of. But yes, of course, it's not refunded. Definitely not. And the third problematic issues on which women reproductive rights have been restricted is the possibility to have an abortion through the pills. So the RU 486 And as well, in many other European countries, the UK, France, I think Spain as well, Germany, this is the normal way now to have an abortion. So you have an abortion through the pills that is much less invasive on the women's body. And in Italy, this has been experimental in few regions for many, many years. And one of the campaign of the last decade, for 10 years, we have been campaigning because the pills needs to be the main way to practice an abortion. And it needs to be done in local clinics, local public clinics that are women clinics that you can find that are called consultori. So that is women local clinics that were a success campaign of the feminist movement after the 70s. And we ask that the abortion is practiced there through the RU 486. And lately, I think 2 months ago, no, maybe something more than, I think before the summer, sorry, the minister has decided for new rules on the use of the pills, and it has accepted that abortion can be done through the RU 486. So, but you have to the health system in Italy is national, but is organized regionally. So many regions have started to set up new rules to avoid to have these. To implement this decision, because they don't want to have it, because that will help women to have abortion in an easier way, rather than go to the hospital where you can find association that will stop you and blah 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 blah.
So
and these, even though we got these first new rules from the ministry, the implementation, regional implementation of these rules, it's a fight region by region, regional government for regional government, and this is so it is. It always looks like movements are, you gain something, but then it's taken back. So you can never say, yes, we got it, it's done. So yeah. It's always an open, it's always an open fight.
Yeah, it's a constant fight, because if the ministry gives you a right, the regions block it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was mind-blowing, because I didn't know the situation in Italy. So next question is, how can we measure the social and gendered impact of the promotion of a highly restrictive legislation on women's reproductive and abortion rights?
So how can we measure? I would say, after this long conversation about abortion, abortion pills, and pills of the day after, we didn't talk about but the fact that in Italy, condom and the pills, the pills are, we have to pay for it. Condom are super expensive. I think it's one of we get the VAT taxes on condom as higher on as in any other object, and this affects a lot the reproductive rights. For example, we think pills and condom should be for free. And this is this is not even on the table of the discussion, for example. But all the discussion about reproductive rights, health rights, these are health rights.
Yeah.
They are not simply women rights. These are health rights affecting the entire society. This is quite important point. And on the other hand, the fight of women on their reproductive rights that is affecting their own body has meant in the years and decades reconstruction and a take back of the relation between health and society, body and the knowledge on the body of our own body. So it has meant health and society, but as well like the person, the individual person and its own body has opened up a new way of knowing about ourselves and a new way of relation with science, reproductive science and health. And I think today this is telling us something very important in this moment of pandemic. So I think the feminist movement has a lot to tell us about the relation between health and society and the body and the well-being and knowing our own body, reclaiming our own body, reclaiming the knowledge on our body. That doesn't mean to be reductionist, it doesn't mean to neglect the existence of illness, but it means to claim the knowledge on our body, like women have for a long time. We know that the reproductive system of women was not studied. Yeah. The names of the reproductive system of the women were all studied only by male. We only had the male names, and so much is still to know. And only in the moment when women movements have started to claim back that knowledge and to say, this is not true, you have no idea what you're talking about, I know it because this is my body. It's a new way of knowing ourselves has started.
Yeah, and it's the fight for self-determination and women's rights and the famous quote, no uterus, no opinion. I think it has a lot to say about the male dominant place of the male dominant domain of medicine. And about that, why do you think women's rights are so heavily attacked in the context of global health and social crisis?
So the attack on women's rights has started before the health crisis. So it has erupted maybe like 3-4 years ago when we had this new neo-authoritarian moment. So with the election of Trump, the election of Bolsonaro, the election of Salvini, for example, in government in Italy, but that was the explosion. We know that this attack was going on maybe more quietly, but it was going on since years and years already. At the basis of, I think Polish women have told us a lot. They have been probably the first movement against this neo-authoritarian wave that we have witnessed in Europe and in the entire world. They are like really at the front line of fighting against a new fascism, if we want to call it, but a new authoritarian.
And so far, very successful.
And they have been very successful. And they have been the only successful movement in this on that case. And I think it's not a case that a feminist movement has been so successful in the east of Europe. Maybe the only successful movement against this neo-authoritarian government. Both the attack on women's bodies and on women's rights was going on since a long time, and I think is strictly related with the uprising of the new rights of a new emerging rights of new emerging I'll call it neo-authoritarian governments around the world. I do believe it's not a case that we see a lot of male macho prime minister attacking directly women's reproductive rights, saying that women needs to go back home somehow.
Yeah.
And this goes hand in hand with what with a neoliberal idea of women instead, where that women, from being in the neoliberal idea, women are not in the, at least white women are not in the house anymore, but they are women able to work and to be mother and to be cleaner and to be caring. So women in the neoliberal system are like super women, able to do everything. But once we are started to witness a moment of unemployment after the financial crisis, unemployment has raised everywhere. Many industries will not recover in Europe anymore. We know it. There is no possibility we will have a recovery. And this was after the financial crisis. After 10 years, after a few years of the financial crisis, we have started to see an attack on women's rights, even before the election of rights government. Then we had the election of right-wing extreme right-wing government, and the attack was even harder. So
the financial crisis started a domino that would affect women's rights and women's reproductive rights in order for women to be in the house and playing the part of the caring mother who listens to the husband and obeys to the husband.
Yes, and obeys to the state as well.
Yeah.
And and obeys, and when she doesn't want to obey, well, that's the moment of violence. So what we see is not simply an attack of women's reproductive rights. What we see is a new way of violence against women. And so the feminist movement in Italy, but also in South America, has started, especially against the outbreak of femicide. So 5 years ago now, because 5 years ago now in Italy, there was this incredibly brutal femicide of a woman in the outskirts of Rome. She was burned alive by his ex-boyfriend because she just didn't want to go back with him. And after that femicide, a group of women went on the place with a banner with written, not one less, not one less women killed in this way by a man. And after that, there was we called for a national demonstration, and it turned out to be one of the biggest national demonstration in the last maybe decade. And that was the starting point of the feminist movement. That now it's called non una di meno, not one less. And from we have written common a manifesto where we explain what is it violence against women nowadays, and it's not simply the violence of that is expressed in killing women, but is a violence that is economic, is social, is a structural violence that is in our daily life since the beginning of the morning when we take a bus. Well, not in this moment, we can't really take buses at the moment, but or we just walk in the streets and we receive comments every day, comments on our body, comments on what we do, comments on whatever it is, and then we are less paid, we study more, but we find less jobs. We are, as I said, we're less paid, and and it's quite possible that in our labor, that in our workplace we can be harassed. So violence in the house and harassment in the public space. This is the reality of women's life, and it's not an exception. This is a structural reality. This is a daily life of the women.
The daily life of the women in all over the world.
Yes, exactly. And not only women here, and all the time I'm speaking about women, I want to say like about every person who behave or wants to be or feels a woman, right?
Every femininity.
Not simply a biological question.
Yeah, every femininity receives the kind of the same reaction from the macho and heteronormative cis male dominance,
exactly,
if you want. And during the pandemic, did you notice, was there an increase of violence against women and femicides?
Yes, there was a very big increase of violence and femicide. So we had we had 3 months of very strict lockdown, March, April, and May. And we had almost 44 women were killed, one every 2 days. And by now there are 60 women killed in 2020. And generally in Italy, since I think more than a decade, the killing, normal killing are going down, only femicide are going up. So it's quite important, and it's quite relevant also to say that it's not even 20 years that we are counting and we are defining a femicide. So the ISTAT, the National Statistical Agency, is counting a femicide only since the beginning of 2000, and so it's in the public discussion really not since so long, and it's getting worse year after year. And I think the lockdown has really affected this situation, and anti-violence center have received much more calls, but have been able to do much less because it was difficult, of course, for the situation to fully support women. Plus, anti-violence centers are underfunded. So many of them in the last years have closed. The cutting of public fundings has been enormous on these centers, and as much as on territorial medicine and health cares and local health cares, as we know now, even more with the pandemic. this has affected women in a disproportional manner. And yeah.
So in the pandemic, women's access to reproductive health services are affected as you just described.
Yes, even more. So during the lockdown, it was really hard to have an abortion. With Non Una di Meno, we have realized some infographics that were shown how difficult it was to receive an abortion. And for this reason, many women had to go through the exceptional procedure to be in the time for abortion. So you can have an abortion only for in the first 12 weeks. I don't want to be, I hope it's correct, but it is better to have it as soon as possible. But during the pandemic, it was almost impossible, and the majority of the abortion have been done in the last weeks of possibility. So this tells us that it was really restricted the possibility for women to have an abortion. So just in these days, because the 25th of November is the international day, the international day for male violence against women, we have realized another infographic on what to do when you have an abortion, and they tell you it's not possible, because a lot of hospitals will tell you, no, we are COVID hospital, we are not practicing abortion anymore. So we have numbers that you can call to know where to go as soon as possible.
Oh, that's a great project. And lastly, are there any successful feminist strategies, and what can we learn from each other? From the feminist movement in Italy, what can we learn from the feminist movement in Italy here in Greece?
Yeah, so I think like talking, I have already like told some of the campaigns that I have went on. I think during the pandemic was really hard, and also like to get organized, and also now like for these 25th of November. For us in Italy, it used to be like in the last 4 years, at least since the beginning of Non Una di Meno, it used to be we used to organize the national demonstration, and of course today is not possible. Half of Italy is already in lockdown, so strict lockdown again, and half of Italy is not. So each local assembly is organized actions where they can. And of course is organizing online, but of course it is difficult to organize in this moment, and but what we have tried to do, well, especially to map the against the question of specifically on the question of reproductive rights, and this have access to abortion and the other pills and so on, to map and to map where you can go to have access easily, to have numbers to call where you can have a service managed by feminist activists that will support you, feminist doctors that will support you, feminist gynecologists, nurses that will support you, because we have to remember that reproductive rights then are something that are affecting seriously our daily life, and that we need them. So that was, I think, a very productive way of supporting women.
Yeah, okay. The information that we can give to other women, where they can go to to have a safe and safe abortion.
Yes, safe abortion, where they can go, which doctor, which agency, which hospitals, map also, for example, the pharmacy that will not give you the pills and go and say, no, you cannot. Be clear on what is possible and what is not, because many doctors here and many hospitals are doing things that they cannot do, because we have laws and we have laws that. So it is important to know which are your rights.
Yeah.
And this has been probably one of the most important. Also, this is very important to know when you go in a hospital, to know when you go towards a doctor, to know which are your rights. And plus, another thing is to know your body, like to know what are you asking for, to know what does it mean to reproductive rights. And as I said, it's not a question only of reproductive rights, it's a question of rights about our body, about the health of our body. And this is affected. And so to know about pleasure, to know about what you want, what is consensus, what is not. These are all things that can be done and can be also done now online. We can still do this campaign online.
Feminist projects online right now are the main way in order to inform women and men and everybody about their rights and their reproductive rights and their self-determination.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That I think this is the point. Self-determination on your body. Like this is probably, and I think as I know, all the feminist movements around the world are working on that, because this is probably the most important things. Like to know your body, to know your rights, to know how to
determinate yourself.
Yes, determinate yourself.
Thank you.
And to support each other in this moment as well. More, it's not simply informing others, but is as well to create space where we can meet, even if it's just online, or maybe it is outside, but keeping the distance and with all the necessary security measures, but at the same time to create space of connection.
Yes, a safe space in order to be ourselves and support each other in this patriarchal society. It's more than needed. So, Vanessa, I think we're about to finish. Thank you for this interesting conversation. I'd like to make some comments. We live in a patriarchal society where women and femininities are constantly under attack by the state and cis male heteronormative subjects. And in this world, we see feminist movements fight back. In Chile, for more than a year of the anti-government protests, people had openly expressed the need of gender equality. In Mexico, as you said before, where femicides increased during the last years, we see the feminist movement demonstrating while being heavily attacked by the police. We also can't forget and didn't forget the Poland's people reaction and the pro-choice demonstrations when the government, with the church's blessings, of course, tried to establish an anti-abortion bill. During the pandemic, the government believed that it could decide for women's bodies without being bothered, but the people in Poland showed that their freedom of choice and self-determination can't be contained. We also had some feminist wins in Greece. In 2019, the feminist movement managed to force the government to establish a law where only the absence of consent is the constituent element of rape. Although we are forced to live in a society where every day we come up against patriarchal ideas and practices, we will keep fighting for a better world, for a world that everybody is free to express their true selves, for a world without sexism, homophobia, transphobia, racism, and social divide. The only world we want to live in is a world without patriarchy and capitalism, and so our feminist action goes hand in hand with our anti-capitalist struggle. Vanessa, I want to thank you again. It was a very interesting conversation we had, and
I just need to say something, because I said that we have abortion law since 1974, but it's 1978. So
oh.
Just to be precise.
Okay. Thank you. And
thank you.
I hope we meet again
Yes.
to organize something.